breaking down a fun indie alternative inspired beat. It was actually one of the first beats I made on my new laptop. It starts with the fun synth, segues into this cool grungy guitar coming in the chorus section, and then in the verse section you're able to hear that guitar for itself. And if you guys like this video, you can go follow me on Instagram over at GavinHadley_. Check me out on BeatStars, GavinHadley_. And I put out a beat tape a few weeks ago. You can find that over here on Gavin's archives. And without further ado, let's get into it. To begin, our first sound comes from, and forgive me, I don't really know how to pronounce this, but Bushla Isley 5. It's a really cool Arteria plugin, cool synth, and I'm using the bit drop sound. And then I just played this little repetitive lead. It's an A minor chord, but as you can see, I am just sort of running up the scale, starting at A, finishing at E. I almost have an E up top here. And this is what it sounds like. So I basically took that, recorded it into Edison, then I had this. Sped it up, and I have it playing once per bar, first 4 bars, and then I bounced that first section over, pitched it down 5 notes, and this is what it sounds like now. No effects on that sound. It's a really cool trippy sound, and I thought it was perfect as is. Moving on to the pre-chorus, the first verse of this beat, I have this whirly electric piano. I'm stacking these chords on top of that sound I just shared earlier. This first chord that I'm layering is an F sharp major 7 chord, and then a C sharp major 7, just with some extensions. As you can see, I have my C sharps down here a little bit lower towards the bass, but I have this F sharp even lower, sort of cementing the chords, making the chords sound super powerful, and I have a similar voicing strategy over here on the second chord. This is what that sounds like. After that, I have these little vocals that come in throughout. It's just me humming into the microphone, gibberish, and sort of affecting it, reversing it, chopping it up. This is what it sounds like. This is what it sounds like without effects. First effect is auto-tune. Second effect is sound shifter, pitching it down an octave and sort of mixing back the mix knob to blend it in with the original sound. And another sound shifter, putting it up an octave and using that same strategy with the mix knob, blending it back again. Then I have a spring reverb sound. I like the spring reverb because it has a little bit more cool distortion and texture. An EQ taking out a lot of lows, frequencies up here, and then a lot of the highs as well. And then I have a compressor over the top of everything on the Transient Smasher preset, distorting all of that reverb and then the sound shifter plugins that we have. I used a one-shot piano, and I came up with this sort of arpeggio pattern. We have all of our root notes right here, the F sharps, and then down here in the C sharps. I have the C sharp playing throughout the progression just to sort of glue it all together. And then I have our bass notes right here up an octave, C sharp's up another octave. The A sharp is actually the third here in this chord, just pitched up an octave. And the F up top, that makes it the major 7 chord. This note and this note, I'm just accenting on the chord. This is the third of that chord, and this is the 5th. And for the effects on this, as you guys can see, when I was playing it, it wasn't quite matching up with the notes. That's because I have growth speed on it. This is what it sounds like without effect. It's a lot faster. I have sound shifter, pitching it down an octave, and then I have RC20, just distorting it a little bit and cutting out some of the highs and lows. I have a super simple sub bass from Analog Lab, just following our root notes. I have this distortion on it. Without it, it sounds like this. And now with. Just on the bass mode with the dry super low at 7.6, just a little subtle distortion. I sort of had a little obscure vision to add guitar to it. I wasn't really sure what kind of guitar I was going to add. I hadn't added drums yet or anything when I was making this originally. And these are the chords that I came up with. Let me get my guitar. I'll put the chord diagrams on screen for you guys just so you can see a little bit better what I'm playing. It sounds like this. This guitar was sort of used to just glue everything together in the beat. It really was like the driving factor. But when I listen to it back now, the second guitar is this lead. It sounds like this. have this lead, it's sort of jumping around using intervals on the second and third string. And I also have it pitched up an octave with some cool reverb effects on top. It sounds like this. On that normal octave one for my guitar amp, I'm using Archetype Corey Wong on the Fat Strat preset with a little Juno chorus. And then on that up an octave one, I'm using that spring reverb again for that cool distortion, and then some EQ taking out some of our low ends, and then frequency here around the 800 hertz area, and then ducking the highs a tiny bit too. Came up with this sort of chord. It's just one chord. I just cemented my hands down on the fretboard. Don't even know what it is. Sort of matched it up with this first chord progression. Just chopped it and used the first part. It sounds like this in combination with the first chord progression. Now for our drum layers, I started by dragging in this tornado drum loop. It's a hip-hop styled sort of drum loop. It sounds like this. And I went ahead and layered it with this kick that just hits very sparingly. It sounds like this. And then in the second part of the chorus, I have this hi-hat that comes in. And right before the drop, I have all the elements come out just for a little bit, the whirly and the piano and then the bass. And then I have this drum loop that sort of hits down here, just acting as a fill. Really subtle, sounds like this. It's like that low octave down there. And the verse, the structure is kind of cool because remember we start with this weird synth sound. So the listener hasn't heard that guitar that I played until the chorus. So now with this next verse, you can sort of lead with that guitar. And it just felt like it kept the song moving in a nice way. So and I also have it layered down an octave lower underneath. Comes in there. Or an octave higher, actually, and a little bit too. And then lastly, on my master channel, firstly, I have a soft clipper that just makes everything not go over 0 decibels, makes it not clip. And the second thing is a limiter, just moving back the ceiling a little bit to compress it, and then boosting the gain a tiny bit, and then adjusting my soft clipper to make sure that my overall track is not going above 0 decibels. On top of all that, I have a little EQ that I like to do, just sort of boosting the high ends a tiny bit, maybe the bass frequencies a little bit, sometimes ducking the bass frequencies a tiny bit if I feel like it's necessary, just like the little last second sort of like master tweaks. And boom, those are all the layers of our beats. And there we have it. I'm going to play the beat out at the end so you guys can hear that. And as always, feel free to comment down below future video suggestions for me. I'm open to do all sorts of different tutorials. So yeah, just let me know in the comment section. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Have a good night. Peace.